Hello everyone. We have discussed how spreading of fixed costs induce economies of scale and scope. Now, let's see 6 specific sources of economies of scale and scope. They are economies of density, purchasing, advertising, research and development, physical properties of production, inventories. First four rely on spreading of fixed costs. Physical properties of production and inventory-based economies do not. Economies of density refer to cost saving that arise within a transportation network due to a greater geographic density of customers. For example, 2 beer distributors delivers 1,000 tons a week. The fixed costs include trucks, fuel, and drivers. One of the distributor that operates in a densely populated urban area has lower unit cost than a distributor selling the same volume of beer in more sparsely populated suburbs. This may be more trucks, fuel, and drivers needed. A more interesting example is the one of airlines route. Let's see example 2.1 on page 67. For the preference of passengers, airlines can distribute the passengers from one destination to another directly. For example, from Guangzhou to Hangzhou, from Shenzhen to Beijing. Of the airline's interest, it is more efficient to design a hub and spoke network. Take the United Airlines as an example. There are routes from Omaha to Boston and Chicago to Boston. The United set Chicago as a hub, where all planes fly on northern United States landing in Chicago for round trip. That is, they cancel the flight from Omaha to Boston. Instead, they take Omaha to Chicago and the passengers who want to go to Boston transfer in Chicago. This makes most of the routes in the network become more dense than direct flight. As a result, the same distance, one plane with more revenue passenger miles (RPM), a management of traffic volume in airline industry. The average cost is reduced by this kind of network system, leads economies of scale. Bulk buying, which means you buy a large amount of something, always leads to discount. This is an argument about purchasing power or bargaining power, but there are something loose in this reasoning. If the supplier was a monopoly, he or she might not care about whether she sold 100 units to a customer or 10 units to 10 customers. 3 reasons the supplier may care a bulk buyer. First, it may be less costly to sell a single buyer, say saving times, logistics, and the paperwork for each transaction. Second, the bulk buyer is more price sensitive. As we have discussed in the price elasticity, the consumer's income is a determinant of price elasticity. When the consumer's expenditure is a large portion of its budget or income, there is more price elasticity. Third, the supplier may prefer a bulk buyer, since it gives the supplier a more stable cash flow. Usually, small buyers are less purchasing powered. However, the purchasing group or alliance can help them to gain a higher bargaining position as the labor union does in a company. Also, small firms have some bargaining power when the suppliers compete to each other. For example, a small convenience store with limited space of storage rack may have discount on competitive brand of drinks. The advertising cost is the cost of sending a message divided by the number of actual consumers as a result of message. Considering the consumer who watched the advertisement is not the actual consumer, we compose the cost as a fraction. The numerator is cost of sending a message, divided by number of potential consumers receiving the message. The denominator is number of actual consumers as a result of message, divided by number of potential consumers receiving the message. The numerator can be interpreted as cost of sending message per potential consumer. The denominator can be interpreted as the rate of advertising reach. Larger firms may enjoy lower advertising costs per consumer either because they have lower costs of sending message per potential consumer, the numerator, or because they have higher advertising reach, the denominator. For example, McDonald's wants to place an advertisement on a national newspaper or a local newspaper. The nationwide newspaper has a lower cost per potential consumers. Suppose the rate is same for two news, say $10 per 1,000 papers. The national news have 1.75 million daily circulation, and the local news is 150,000 papers per day. The cost to place on a news is $10 times 1.75 million divided by 1,000, which is $17,500 for the national paper, and $1,500 for local paper. Suppose the cost of preparation is $3,500. The cost per potential consumer is therefore $17,500 plus $3,500 divided by 1.75 million, which is $12 per 1,000 potential consumers for national paper, and the cost per 1,000 potential consumer is $33. A higher circulation leads lower cost per potential consumer. The logic underlying this example illustrates why national firms such as McDonald's enjoy an advertising cost advantage over their local counterparts. Even when two firms place both on national papers, bigger firms have lower average cost. Suppose McDonald and Harvey, a Canadian local burger provider, place their advertising on Canadian sports television network. Since there are 5 times as many McDonald's as Harvey in Canada, almost every TV watcher can find a McDonald on nearby but not Harvey's. Also, the effect of advertising will be higher if the firm provides many different product lines under a single brand. This is known as umbrella branding. With the same brand name, under the umbrella branding, the consumer can recognize the different related products from one advertiser. This is a saving due to the rate of reach. Next is the cost of research and development. Most firms in the industry of information technology have more than 10% of the annual expenses on R&D. One of the reasons is that for most engineering and science, there is a minimum feasible size to a R&D project, say to form an R&D department and build a lab. Although the same argument of economies of scale can apply in R&D, that large firms with higher output can spread the cost of R&D more than small firms. But the incentive to do R&D and the innovative outcome of R&D is not necessarily larger in the big firms. This might due to the small firm can challenge the large firm by the new invented product, which induce a higher incentive, and the small firm take a variety of research which leads them think outside of the industry, but the big firm follows her old path on innovation. Some products have the property called the cube-square rule. This is a rule says that the volume increased more than the surface of a thing. As you can see in the left-hand side of the picture, there is a 8 times of cubic of 2 mm side to a 1 mm side, but its surface is only 4 times to 1 mm 1. Mostly it happens in the product with containers. For example, you want to double the volume of a bottle of cola. You need the materials less than the extra volume. This is because the cost of material of a bottle is only the surface of the bottle. The oil pipeline is another good example of this rule. The last one is inventories. The firm carry inventories due to prevent the possibility of running out of stock. For a manufacturer, running out of the stock of a part would delay entire production process. For retailer, running out of the stock leads consumer to seek more reliable suppliers. The benefit of inventories is to minimize these cases. The cost or the interest and the depreciation of these inventories. A 10% of sales in inventory will drive up the average cost by 10% at most. Since the average cost is measured proportion of cost in the number of products sold, the need of carrying huge amount of inventories lead economies of scale because high volume of business can usually lead the firm to find more efficient way of using inventory, and thus a lower inventory to sales and the average cost. For example, Walmart will build a central warehouse and use the just-in-time distribution to maintain her inventory in a given level. Producing complementaries in a single firm will induce scope economies. There are similar outcomes in the practice of management. This is called complementarities. Take the Southwest Airline as an example. Southwest Airline does not cater its flights, which means no food while flying. It uses a single type of plane, Boeing 737. Thereby simplified baggage handling, refueling, and maintenance procedures. It does not fly into congested airports, so the flights will not wait for landing or takeoff. Each of these practices make the other more effective by eliminating potential bottlenecks. The reduction in maintenance time afforded by the use of a single type of plane would be wasted if Southwest took the time to cater meals. The same idea is called strategic fit in the study of strategic management. It is good for the firm with a bunch of strategic fits, but hard to copy. For example, United Airlines could switch to a single type of plane or stop on-board catering, but unless it moves out of its congested Chicago hub, it could not hope to match Southwest's operation efficiencies. We have seen lots of reasons that big firms enjoy economies of scale and scope. One may conclude that big is better for any firms in any industry. It is not necessarily true. Here are some reasons why does not firms grow bigger and bigger. One is labor cost. Larger firms pay more benefits to their employees than small firms. It may be because workers in large firms find the union more common, or the firm should pay wage difference among workers to provide certain incentives to work. Other costs may come from the commuting and accommodations. Otherwise, there are some savings on labor cost for large firms, say lower turnover rate, attraction of high-quality laborers. The second reason of this economy of scale may come from the big firms spread her specific resources too thin. The executives in big firms have more tasks than ones in small firm. They pay attention on different businesses, but not enough on all activities. This induces a cost for the large firms. One method to reduce these scale diseconomies is to hire more labor to management. This may induce another cost of bureaucracy. To manage management in big organizations induce some different agency problems. The information flow may not accurate not only from bottom to top, but also from executives to workers in production line. The competition among departments is another cost that they fighting for more their own interest and compete for the scarce corporate resources, but not compete for the firm's profit. This will have detailed discussion in the context of internal organization or the economics of organization. We summarize the sources of scale economies and diseconomy in Table 2.2. Thanks for watching. See you next video.